Lash, how are you today? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you? It's good to be here with you today.
Thank you so much for coming back. You were like 2020's shining star as far as Max Out Time episodes, so we had to bring you back full
Hey.
effect in living color, right? We get to see each other. The last time you came, you spoke a lot about COVID-19 and what it means for Black people. Now we've been here for about 13 months,
Yeah.
right? But can you take us back to the day the world stood still? Where were you? What happened? And what have you been doing since?
Yeah. Well, I remember our initial conversation, and it's just so wild because we were talking about it like, maybe it'll end like in a month or two, kind of a deal. But here we are, like you said, like 13 months out. And I remember where I was when everything first started. I was in my first year of medical school, living on campus in the dorms, and like they just hit us up and they're like, y'all, it's highly suggested that you go home. And I was like, hold up, what you mean highly suggested? So I took that highly suggestive
That means pack your
tone.
bags.
Right. I said, well, I'm gonna go home to LA.
Right.
And that was just such a wild experience because I also serve as our student council president. So I was really working with administration to make sure that students had access to funds for flying back home and making sure that folks had places for storage. And it was just like everyone was just freaking out because we didn't really know how long this was going to last. And I remember we had our first Zoom class for like cardiology, which is like study of the heart. And I was like, this is so weird. Like, there's no way that this is going to be the new way we're going to be learning for like, for too long. And then here we are, like you said, 13 months out. I feel like now I'm like a Zoom professional. I know how to do a little
Right.
annotate. I know how to share my screen. Y'all, we moving up.
Well, I'm
But
doing Zoom. I'm doing Zoom interviews pretty much every week, and I still haven't got it right a
yeah.
year in. So hopefully you can help me with the technical issues that
Look, I got you. We could do a tutorial.
we need to. We really need to. Max Out Time goes full effect on Zoom with Lash Nolen, Harvard
Let's get
Medical
it.
School class of 2023 class president. So for the last year, it was just you became a Zoom professional. It was really scary for a little bit of time. You had to check on
Yeah,
family. You needed to go back home,
all of that.
and then you started to trickle back to Boston. Are you back there now?
Yeah. So now I'm back in Cambridge. I'm now in my second year of medical school, and I'm doing my clinical rotations at Cambridge Health Alliance, which is a safety net hospital here in Cambridge. And we see like some of the most vulnerable patients here in the area. So now I'm back in person working with patients, and it feels really great to be back. And during the pandemic, I was doing a lot of advocacy, doing a lot of op-ed writing about social justice and all the ways that we need to continue to look at how structural systems of oppression impact folks' health. And we were seeing that with police brutality. We were seeing that with the way that COVID was disproportionately impacting Black, Latinx, and Indigenous communities. So that was a lot of the work that I was doing then. And now I'm kind of transitioning all of that work to doing it directly for my patients and thinking about how do we do all that advocacy that I was pushing with the writing, but actually putting it into praxis. So it's been a really dope experience.
So who are your patients? What exactly are you preaching to them in your space? And what about the vaccine? Are you giving them the vaccine? Are you telling them like go get the vaccine? Bring us full circle with what's happening now with those patients.
Absolutely. So when I have conversations with my patients about the vaccine, the first thing that I make sure that I let them know is that it's important that you continue to social distance, to wash your hands, and to wear masks, because those are all the things that have protected us thus far throughout this pandemic. So we need to continue to do those things. I think public health is the number one tool to ending this pandemic, point blank, period. And if we had more infrastructure and public health support in the first place, I think that we would have exited the pandemic much earlier, and we wouldn't necessarily be in this space. So when I have conversations with my patients, that's the first thing that I always say. And number two is like, everything that you've been doing in the past to maintain your health, taking your medication for hypertension, diabetes, exercising, taking care of your wellness, those are all things that are going to make sure that your immune system is strong and that you're protected and healthy. So we got to keep doing that too. And then the third piece is the vaccine. And I think that that's yet another powerful tool that we have. So whenever I talk to my patients about the vaccine, I just say, hey, do you have any questions about it? And if they do, then I go into an explanation about how the vaccine works and what happened in the trials and how it showed that certain the effectiveness of them and all of that good stuff. And I'm never trying to convince my patients to get anything. I'm just like, look, what questions do you have? Let me give you all the information that I do. And if they ask me, like, did you get the vaccine? I did. You know, I got the Moderna vaccine about 2 months ago. And yeah, and I just let them know about my experience. But I just really try to make sure that I number one is that public health piece and just taking care of yourself and your wellness.
What are their responses? What's their feedback when you talk to them about the vaccine? When you tell them, look, I just got mine, it's okay to get yours.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are just like, oh, really? You got it? You know, they're like, oh, for real? And then I'm like, yeah, and let me tell you about what the experience was like. You know, I went in, first dose, they had me sit down for 15 minutes afterwards. I didn't have any symptoms besides just that sore arm and in the where the injection site was. And then
Same as if you got a flu shot, same as if you got a regular checkup, right? It was the same
yep.
thing.
Same exact thing, same exact thing. And then for the second dose, I went in, same thing. They had me sit down for the 15 minutes. But I would say like maybe like 10 hours after I got the second dose, I had like fever and chills. And I was like, hold up, what's going on? But I anticipated that because for folks who are between the ages of like 18 and 50, younger folks, we have really strong immune systems. So naturally, our bodies are responding to the vaccine as it should.
We're gonna try to
So
fight it.
exactly. So you can imagine someone who actually has the COVID virus, like how their bodies are fighting. But with the vaccine, it's just giving your body the mRNA, the molecule, so that it could recognize the spike protein that the SARS-CoV-2 virus that causes COVID uses, that what it uses to enter our cells. So I already kind of knew what was going on. So I had my Tylenol on deck, I had my Gatorade, my water, and I just kind of wrote it out, and I was cool within 24 hours. So that's what happened.
You about to go play a pickup game or
Right.
after the vaccine?
Right.
So, you know, I haven't got my second dose. I've got my first one already, and I got the
Okay.
Moderna as well. So now
Okay.
I'm preparing myself. I got to go get a 12
Shout
pack of
out to Kizzy.
Gatorade, some
We gotta
Powerade.
give a shout out to Dr. Kizzy Corbett. You know, that's the Black woman that really led the creation of the Moderna vaccine. So I gotta shout her out.
We shouting out all Black women in the medical space today. All right. So any more shout outs you want to come through, you write them down. Email me the list. So
I got you.
We'll go through it at the end. There's still some healthy dose of skepticism, I should say, especially
Right.
in the Black community. And I was
Yeah.
reading your Teen Vogue essay about medical racism, right?
Mm.
And it talked about the skepticism in our community from those decades long Tuskegee experiments and things like that to go way, way back. But
Yeah.
when we push it forward now, Black people are hesitant to get the vaccine. You wrote in your piece that a family member texted you saying, I'm scared essentially of getting the vaccine. Do you have some time to talk about it?
Yep.
Can you talk about what you said to your aunt?
Yeah, so when I spoke with my aunt, I really just kind of like sat down, like, you know, virtually on FaceTime, and I was just like, you know, tell me about what's on your mind, because she is a healthcare worker and she was going to be getting access to it earlier on around the same time as me. And she was just talking to me about how she was just a little nervous and afraid because it was something new. She was like, this was developed super quickly. And like, this is someone who I respect and honor so much, and she's a highly educated individual, but she had real life questions. And I think a lot of folks have been kind of labeling our community and just saying that we're skeptics and we're hesitant, but in reality, we have no reason whatsoever to trust these institutions that have created this vaccine because of the way that they've traditionally harmed us and the ways that they continue to perpetuate oppression and harm toward us. Like, thinking about how there were folks who lost their jobs, there are folks who weren't even given PPEs when they went to the grocery store to work, or when they went to their job as an Amazon worker. worker. But now all of a sudden, like they want folks to just trust this vaccine that was developed. So I think I was
It's
really
not
coming from
realistic.
that perspective. Right, exactly. It's not realistic. And it's like, you know, now you care about me. Now you want me to take this shot when it's expedient for you. But what about in the past when we've been asking for resources and we've been asking for public health infrastructure and access to housing to protect ourselves? And I think that that's where a lot of people were coming from. So I think I've tried to move away from using the term vaccine hesitancy and really trying to think about it as like lack of access to information and lack of access to getting the vaccine physically. Because I think my aunt, you know, whenever she would ask questions at her workplace, they kind of would like, you know, put her to the side, like, oh, like why are you questioning things, or you know, we don't know, kind of a deal. But it's like people deserve answers and they have questions. And I've been very delighted to see that with time, with studies that the Kaiser Family Foundation has been doing, is showing that the amount of Black people who are waiting and seeing instead of saying, yes, I want to get the vaccine, has been decreasing. So more and more Black folks are saying, yes, if I were offered the vaccine today, I would get it. And less are saying, I want to wait and see. And I think that's because we're finally getting answers to our questions. We're seeing our family members get it, and we're seeing people that we love and respect and trust get it. And I think that that's really what it's all about.
Wow. Wow. You know, the last time you came on here, you said that there's medical racism that's been entrenched in America for a
Yeah.
very long period of time. So that was leading to some of the hesitancy or lack of information. Now, where should we go to get accurate information so that we're not hesitant, so that we go out, we get the vaccine, and that hopefully this thing will cure us someday?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think one resource that y'all should check out is an organization that I recently founded called We Got Us. And we're a collective of Black pre-health students, health professionals, and community activists and organizers who are really committed to bringing accurate information about the vaccine to our communities and also advocating to increase their access to the vaccine, which I think is absolutely key. And our main pillars, number one, are to empower through education. Two is to convey, not convince, right? So we're not trying to convince you to get the vaccine, but we just want to convey the appropriate information that you need so that you have all the tools in your toolkit when you make that final decision. And the third is that we're always putting public health first. So we want to make sure the folks are wearing their masks, socially distancing, and making sure they're washing their hands. And if you go to our website, wegotusproject.org, we have all that information. We also do virtual empowerment sessions where you can request us to come to your church or organization, and we do an entire presentation about the trials, the history of medical racism, and answer any questions your community might have, whether it be about the way that the vaccine impacts those who are pregnant, the way it affects kids, anything you want to know. We're really trying to make sure we bring the information to our community. But in addition to what we're doing, I think that there are so many great folks on Twitter that y'all should really check out. I think Dr. Uche Blackstock has been phenomenal in making sure that Black communities are informed about the vaccine. There's COVID Black that has been doing great work. There's a COVID coalition that's out of DC that's been really bringing out this information. And there's just so many out there. But I would say if there's a person, a Black physician who's really been a heavy hitter and making sure that we're solid, is Dr. Uche Blackstock, and I think also Dr. Kamara Jones. Those two have been great throughout the pandemic.
Well, look, she's Harvard Medical School's class president for the class of 2023. She's on max out time. And look, if anybody got us, Lash Nolen got us, right? We got us project. Well, she got us. All max out time listeners, please come on, tune into this episode because Lash Nolen has us in the Black community with the health perspective. She's doing an amazing job. I want to thank you so much. You talked about such great resources and other Black female medical professionals, giving them shout outs. I hear you.
Always.
Shout out. I've read your writing as well. So what's next for our people? What's next for this vaccine for COVID-19? They're talking about a fourth wave, and I'm still thinking we in last year with the first wave.
Right.
So where are we right now, and where are we going?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think first we have to talk about this idea of herd immunity, right? And herd immunity is once we get to 70%, y'all. 70% is the magic number that we need to get to, so that the viral rate in the community is low enough that it's not being actively passed as much. So that's the way that vaccines have traditionally worked. So that's why we don't really see a lot of measles and other types of diseases, because we have these vaccines that make sure that all of those rates stay low. So I think that I've been seeing a lot of folks out here at brunch, living their best life, not quite vaccinated
They're
yet.
ready to turn up.
They're ready. They're like,
throw the
look,
mask on.
they said what? Like, so I think it's important that we realize that even if like your moms, even though your grandmother and your family members are vaccinated, you're like a young person who isn't vaccinated yet, you still form a really important part of that 70%, right? So if we get to 50% of folks and all those folks are elderly individuals, we still have young folks who still need to get the vaccine as well. So I think we can't just say like, look, in my mind, the pandemic is over and that's it. We have to really try to stay in it, because right now we in the fourth quarter final push. And if we get everybody vaccinated, then we'll get to that point where those levels are low enough. I think moving forward, it is very possible that each year we have to get a COVID vaccine, similar to how each year you have to get the flu vaccine, because they kind of like they will anticipate what strain in particular will be out in the community during that flu season.
So what you're telling me is COVID ain't over.
Right.
We got a long way to go.
We got a long way to go. And I think like right now we need to get to a place where we get everybody vaccinated. But it is true that we have these new strains coming out, right? But there's no reason to freak out, because we can still continue to do the studies and to make sure that we have vaccines that attack those new strains. But we have to get everybody in a us mindset, in a communal mindset. We're like, okay, it's a new strain. We got the vaccine. So I need to go out and get this vaccine. And also I need to continue to do the work of social distancing and listening to whatever federal guidelines are. So I think that we can definitely get to a new state of normal, but don't be surprised if you do have to get a vaccine every year for the particular strain. But I think that the amount of suffering and the amount of folks that we've lost this year, that doesn't have to happen if we get it right.
Wow. So just keep holding on. Listen to doctors, listen to science, listen to medical professionals. Don't throw the mask off just yet.
Oh, not mask. Nah, I'm sorry, future, but this ain't it. This ain't it.
That's the perfect segue, because I know you're also a musician. You do a little bit with the freestyle, but we lost one of our great ones a few days ago. One of the best to ever do it, DMX. Do you have any memories of DMX?
So there's this song that DMX did with Aaliyah called "Come Back in One Piece," and that video was everything to me. And I just love how he could like get on like an R&B song, just straight like going in, right? And it just still go. You like, yeah, you right, you know? And I think he did such an amazing job of articulating like his pain and his struggles and like the real life experiences of Black folks in America. But then also like repping like the Rough Riders at the same time, you know what I mean? I just feel like he just weaves so many different aspects of like hip hop and art together. And I also remember with Y'all Gonna Make Me Lose My Mind, when I was younger, I'd be like, y'all gonna make me act the fool. Like I would say
Yeah.
I'd be like FOOD, like y'all gonna make me act a food. I was really in it too. Little me, I was lit.
When Bow Wow broke it out in Like Mike, you know, that's one of my favorite movies.
Yes.
Of all time, right?
Yes.
When they're in the car, leaving the pharmacy, right?
Yeah.
We mixing medical with hip hop already now.
Yeah. I love it.
That's one of my favorite movie scenes. I love it. Just like DMX, you are also multifaceted. You put it in, you spin it in different ways. And the We Got Us project, with your writing, with being a top medical student in the country right now, class of 2023, Harvard Medical School's class president, the first Black female class president. I'm saying that for the second time on this show, the first Black female class president of Harvard Medical School, Lash Nolen. Thank you so much for your wisdom and telling people that we got to hold on. But if we do what medical professionals, profess, we'll be okay.
Yes,
Thank you so much for coming on the
absolutely.
show.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure always, y'all. So please continue to stay masked up, protect one another, look out for one another, and don't make any decision that you don't want to. But just know that the information is out there and you got people who have your back.